A gift I'll never forget. Our 10th wedding anniversary was supposed to be a milestone, a celebration of a decade filled with love, challenges, and growth, or so I thought. I spent the entire day preparing, making sure every detail was perfect. Our favorite wine chilled in the fridge, candles flickered romantically on the dining table, and a cake with 10 wonderful years written on it waited in the corner. My heart raced with excitement as I finished wrapping my gift, a photo album I'd made by hand, filled with memories of us, from the day we met to the life we had built together. For weeks, I had planned this evening. I wanted to remind my husband, Michael, of the love we had shared, especially since I had sensed him pulling away recently. He had been distant, absent both physically and emotionally. I told myself it was work stress, that it was just a phase, and tonight would bring us closer again. It had to. When he walked through the door, the air shifted. His smile was half-hearted, his eyes not meeting mine fully. I brushed it off. I was too focused on the night ahead, the chance to rekindle the connection that felt like it had slipped through my fingers. "Happy anniversary," I said cheerfully, kissing his cheek. He smiled faintly, handing me a small, elegantly wrapped box. "This is for you," he said, his voice flat. I laughed nervously. "You're giving it to me already? You didn't want to wait until after dinner?" "No," he said, his eyes scanning my face. "I think you should open it now." A part of me hesitated. His tone was so detached, so unlike the man who had once wooed me with poetry and grand gestures. But I ignored the alarm bells ringing in my head, thinking perhaps this was his way of making up for the distance. Maybe the gift was something meaningful, something that would remind us both of what we once had. With a smile, I carefully tore away the wrapping paper and lifted the lid on the small box. Inside, sitting atop layers of delicate tissue paper, were papers. Not just any papers. Divorce papers. I blinked, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. My brain struggled to process what I was looking at. Surely this was a mistake. A sick joke. My hand trembled as I pulled the papers out, my eyes darting over the neatly printed lines. There it was, my name and his, typed side by side, in cold, sterile black ink. "This isn't funny," I stammered, forcing a laugh, hoping any second now he'd say something, explain that it was just some sort of prank, a misunderstanding. But he remained silent, his eyes now avoiding mine. "I'm serious," he said finally, his voice devoid of emotion. "I want a divorce." The room spun around me, and I felt my chest tighten, as though all the air had been sucked out of the room. "A divorce? You want a divorce?" I repeated, incredulous. "On our anniversary?" He looked down, fiddling with the corner of the tablecloth. "It felt like the right time to give you the papers. It's been coming for a while." My hands shook as I held the papers in front of me, unable to believe what was happening. "Coming for a while?" My voice cracked, disbelief and hurt bubbling to the surface. "You've been planning this, and I had no idea?" "I didn't know how else to do it," he muttered, finally meeting my gaze. "I thought this would be easier." "Easier for who, Michael?" "For you." My voice rose, tears stinging my eyes. "You chose today, our anniversary, to tell me you're ending our marriage, to humiliate me?" "I'm not trying to humiliate you," he said, his tone cold. I'm done pretending. I've been unhappy for years, and I thought I could push through it, but I can't anymore. I want out." I couldn't breathe. Every word felt like a slap in the face, each one stripping away the life I thought we had built together. You're unhappy?" I managed to choke out, my heart pounding. "We have a life together, a family, and you didn't even give me a chance to fix whatever was wrong?" He sighed, leaning back in his chair, as though this was just another casual conversation. "I gave you plenty of chances, Sarah. I've been trying to make this work for a long time, but you've been so focused on everything else. Your job, the house, planning this perfect life, that you forgot about me. About us." My mouth fell open. That's not true, I cried. I've always been here, always trying to make things better for us. I've loved you. He shook his head, his expression now filled with frustration. It's not enough anymore. I can't keep living like this. I stared at him, tears now streaming down my face, my heart breaking with every word he spoke. How long have you felt like this? How long have you been planning to leave me? He didn't answer right away, which only made my stomach churn with fear. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. A year. A year? My voice broke. You've been planning to divorce me for a year, and I didn't even know? I didn't want to hurt you, he said, as though that made it any better. But I'm tired of pretending. I've already moved on. I felt as though the ground beneath me had collapsed. Moved on? I asked, dread filling every inch of my body. What does that mean, Michael? Is there someone else? He hesitated for just a moment too long, and that was all I needed. My heart sank, the realization hitting me like a truck. There was someone else. He had replaced me. The man who had once vowed to love me forever had already found someone new, someone he deemed better. How long? I whispered, my voice shaking. It's been a few months, he admitted quietly, as though that would soften the blow. Her name is Rachel. We met through work, and it just happened. Just happened. Like the destruction of my life was a mere accident. You've been cheating on me, I said, the words bitter and venomous as they left my mouth. He didn't deny it. He just sat there staring at his hands, as though he was the victim in all this. I stood up, the chair screeching against the floor, the weight of the moment crashing down on me. So that's it? You're leaving me for her? You've spent the last few months with another woman while I've been here trying to save a marriage I didn't even know was broken. I'm sorry, he said, but the words felt hollow. They meant nothing to me now. I stared at him, the man I had loved for a decade, the man I had thought I would grow old with. Now, all I saw was a stranger, someone who had chosen to betray me, to break me, and to do it in the cruelest way possible, on a day that was supposed to symbolize our love. I took a deep breath, swallowing the pain that threatened to consume me. You know what, Michael? You don't get to ruin me. I'll sign your damn papers, and I'll move on. But don't for a second think you get to leave this unscathed. You'll regret this. I grabbed the papers, threw the box aside, and stormed out of the room. The pain was unbearable, but somewhere deep inside me, anger flared, a fire that would keep me going, through the heartbreak, through the tears. I would survive this, and I would make sure he knew exactly what he had lost. On her 10th wedding anniversary, Sarah planned a night filled with love and nostalgia, hoping to rekindle the spark with her husband, Michael. But instead of a romantic gesture, she receives a devastating surprise: divorce papers hidden inside an anniversary gift. As her world crumbles, she learns of Michael's betrayal and his affair with another woman. Faced with heartbreak and betrayal, Sarah must find the strength to rebuild her life, determined to prove that no one can destroy her spirit.